Coach Crazy Cat back with you for step 3, knowledge. This is activity 6, drop those rocks. Let's get going. Okay, make sure you have your resources. By now, I'm sure you know where they all are, but you got the book, which comes from Amazon and from the Google Drive. You've got your worksheets, which you can download from the Google Drive. Make sure that you have your checklist so you know that everything is done. We're already on number 6. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Drop those rocks. This is not a very long reading, but it's a really awesome activity. All right. So the reading, if you want to read yourself, then go for it. If you want to listen, I have a video where I just read all of these. So it's totally up to you. But these are some tools that you can use when you realize that you're struggling against the sea. So people and circumstances are driving you crazy. They're getting on your nerves and you're just like, I need some tools. Then here you go. So the first one is respond versus react. And we talk about here how it would be really nice to pretend that there was no sea and that ugly and mean and nasty people and circumstances didn't exist. It's just not reality. A sailboat has to have a sea to move around, and we need other people to have a life. If you lived with nobody around and you completely hermited, it wouldn't take very long for most of us to crave the attention of other people, even if it wasn't exactly up to our standard. So we have to learn how to respond versus react to negative people and circumstances. And thinking back to what we were talking about on being lost in traffic, it's just to back out of the situation, use the IBZ eliminator, step away for a second and be like, okay, let me think about the IBZ eliminator. We're going to talk about that next. Sorry, that's the next step. But use the IBZ eliminator tool to help us to kind of step back, to get some perspective on the situation so that we can respond versus react. Think about how we would like that other person to treat us if we were in the situation. So in your journey, effective responses to the sea are to adjust your sails, to use your anchor when necessary, and listen to the wind, which is God. Yelling at the sea or wallowing in despair will not help your journey any more than it helped David Blagden in his journey in Will and Griffin that was discussed in step 2. So if you remember that story, he got way off track by a bad storm and he wanted to wallow, but he could die, right? And similarly, I mean, that's not like we're going to die tomorrow, hopefully, but you know, it does impact our life and it is holding us back from our beautiful life. And we're slowly dying over time and we're taking away our future and our potential by allowing ourselves to respond to bad situations instead of reacting. I love this quote. When obstacles arise, you change your direction to reach your goal. You do not change your decision to get there. Isn't that one an amazing one by Zig Ziglar? And I love this one by Jim Rohn, which will lead us right into the law of sowing and reaping because Jim Rohn is great on the law of sowing and reaping. It's not what happens that determines the quality or quantity of your life. And the reason is because what happens to about everyone. Think about it. The sun went down on all of us last night. It's a common event. And it is true, the same thing can happen to two different people, and one gets rich and the other gets poor. Why is that? It's not because of what happens, but rather what you do about it. So it's all, do we focus on the negativity and think about that situation and we react to it? We go, oh, that's so bad. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to freeze. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be mad, stubborn, aggravated, blah, blah, blah. Or am I going to respond and say, you know what? Crap happens. I'm moving on. Onward and upward, like Jim Rohn says, by applying the law of sowing and reaping, which is one of my favorites. So the law of sowing and reaping comes from the Bible. It's a parable in Matthew 13 that Jesus spoke, and it's about throwing seeds into a garden. And I want you to think about gardening. And what happens is you plow the dirt and you put in all the really beautiful like stuff like organic matter and all these really great, amazing things. And you go out and you lay out your seeds and then you wait for them to come up. And the sun's going to happen and the rain's going to happen and you're going to go out and weed and you're going to get some plants. Now imagine if you gave it a day and you were like, my plants aren't up yet and started digging up the seeds. That's not going to work well. Imagine if, you were overlooking, every 5 minutes, like messing with them or doing something, or, oh, maybe if I add more fertilizer, you're just going to fry them out. You've got to give them the time to do what they do. Some birds are going to eat some. Now you can go chasing the birds around the yard, but that's not really going to work out so well, right? Some are going to fall by the wayside. Okay, whatever. Just keep planting seeds on good soil. Water it, weed it, let the sun do its work, and plants are going to come up. And what's really awesome with plants is you get a lot more seeds than what you put down. So think about a tomato plant. You plant one seed, get a big tomato plant, lots of tomatoes, and each tomato has loads of seeds. You get thousands and thousands and thousands of seeds from one seed, which is amazing when you're planting good seeds. So when you're planting forgiveness and love and peace and joy and prayers and kindness, and you're spreading that out, that's what you're getting back. But when you're planting anger, frustration, stress, you're getting that back. So seeds are going to come back in multiples of what you planted. It's just a law. It's the way it works. It's just like gravity. Just make sure that you're planting things you want to see again. There's an amazing video by Jim Rohn. Some of you have probably already heard it, but it's well worth a listen. I've listened not hundreds, but tens, like 10, 20, 30 times. I just love it. It's really good. It's at tab 11. It's named Jim Rohn, The Law of Sowing and Reaping, a motivational video. So just the way he covers the law of sowing and reaping, it's just absolutely brilliant. Totally highly recommend. So just click on the link in the ebook or the link below in the program and give that a gander. You'll really love it. It's absolutely amazing. If you don't like what you're reaping, you'd better change what you're sowing. Instead of complaining about what's coming out, go, hey, what did I plant that's causing me to get this? The next one is drop the rocks. And I love this one. So I want you to think about negative emotions as a big bag of rocks that you are carrying around everywhere you go, and you're dragging it like this. Oh. And every time someone does or says something mean or bad or nasty, or you don't like your life, or you're frustrated at work, you stick another rock in the bag, and the bag's getting heavier and heavier, and you're complaining about carrying it, but you still are carrying it around. It's a funny human thing how we want to hold on to what we have and we don't want to let things go, even if it's bad for us. It's crazy, right? So instead of putting rocks in the bag, imagine if you dropped one out. So imagine that something happened and it triggered you to feel a certain way, like feel angry. Okay. Then you go, okay, I can go along with my anger, add more rocks to my bag. I can go down this path and I can be mad the next 2 days and snort and blow and not talk to my family. Or I can go, you know what? I always say this to myself. I'm like, hey, Kat, you're having an irrational emotional reaction to a stimuli. So something happened and I'm just like, want to blow my top and don't want to speak to anybody. Just want to go back in the bed and pull the covers over my head. It's completely irrational, right? But that's how I feel. It feels very real when you're going through it. When I know that, I know to pause and to stop, to pray and to ask God what I'm actually feeling, to ask him how to see it clearly so he can help me heal the hurt and to help me to release it so that I don't have to keep reliving it over and over again. So by that, I'm choosing to drop a rock. Now, Sister Heather has this really cool way of doing it where you carry pebbles in your pocket. And every time something happens or every time you're like, I'm going to release that, you drop a pebble out. So it becomes something that you're actually doing to help you release those rocks. So if you're really struggling with blaming others and feeling like other people and circumstances and life is what's holding you back from your beautiful life, then drop the rocks and realizing that you're sowing things that are coming back and that you're causing a lot of your own problems will really help you a lot. Our ability to handle life's challenges is a measure of our strength of character, Les Brown says. Love Les Brown. So now we're going to do activity 6, which is drop those rocks. The God who has the whole world in his hands has grace for the whole world in his heart. Lewis B. Smedes. I love that one. He has grace for us. We should have grace for ourselves and for others. So drop those rocks. Dropping seems scary, right? Especially if you're someone who has been blaming everybody. And at the time I started coaching, I was blaming work. I was blaming this and that and blah, 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 and everybody else's fault. And one day things will be better and yakety yak. And it seems scary to let it go, but letting it go is the best thing I've ever done. So I hated it. I held on to it for dear life because I was like, well, if I don't have this story, then I'm actually going to have to face what is. And what if that's even scarier? Or what if I can't keep up with my expectations? It's way easier to work through this one. And then we can work on expectations of yourself and how you move through that as we move forward. So who knew something so simple as the answer? Carrying less of what you don't need will help make room for what you do. Give it a try. What little rock can you drop? And then I talk about Heather. It says to carry a small pebble and to give it a try. So take a pause, do this activity, and I'll see you back for activity 7. See you soon. Bye. Yeah, look at that. How free you are. Okay, now bye. Bye.